Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of AIC TV. I am your host, Edward Carr, coming to you live from the Dukascopy Television Studios in cooperation with Dukascopy TV, our partners. Today in the studio joining me is a technology investor extraordinaire, my friend, and probably one of the smartest guys that I know, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Edward Schneider. Ed, great to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me, Ed. I really appreciate being here.
Well, welcome to AIC TV. In addition, Ed Schneider, I would like everyone to know, is on the executive committee of the American International Club, but his day job is as a portfolio manager of the Quan Technology Fund. Now, Ed, you've told me before that the name Quan, that actually comes from a movie. So what is that all about? Where'd the name Quan come from?
Well, do you like movies, Ed?
I love movies, yeah.
So if you like movies, I also happen to love movies. And in the late 1990s, there was a movie called Jerry Maguire. It's with Tom Cruise, Cuba Gooding. And it was about a superficial sports agent, Jerry Maguire, that kind of transcended that and actually learned to care about his clients. So he lost all of his clients except for one. And then he became what was called in the movie the ambassador of Quan. And he learned to basically care about his client, and together they partnered and succeeded. And I took that caring, excellence, and success, and I applied that to when I founded Quan Ventures and Quan Technology Fund 18 years ago. So Quan basically is where we partner with our clients in the technology sphere to help them succeed. So it's 100% dedication to our investors and our clients. And as a testimonial to that, all our investors have been with us for at least 13 years, and we have strong relationships with all of our current and past portfolio companies.
So Ed, wow, Jerry Maguire, that's where you actually got the name. You know, one of my favorite parts in that movie is when he's talking to his client and he tells Jerry, you know what, Jerry, show me the money. Yeah. And I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, Ed Schneider right here has shown his investors the money. You know, when I look back over the Quan Technology Fund, your track record over the last 18 years, you have annualized at 16% a year. The NASDAQ at that time has only done approximately 8% a year. So you have doubled the NASDAQ. Ed, what is your secret recipe to your success?
If I could encapsulate it in one word, it would have to be focus. We really focus only on our core expertise in information technology, and even within information technology, there's certain niches that we really specialize in, whether it be semiconductor, some communication networking areas, or also in certain internet fields. But the key is focus, and what happens when you focus over time, you develop not only expertise, but a sphere of influence in these certain areas. So we do our own trade shows, our own workshops. We travel all around the world to really know these niches better than anyone else. And by doing that, that gives us one, higher value add for our portfolio companies, and two, a better selection process to get the higher returns for our investors.
Well, the results are certainly there, you know, looking at it. And Ed, just expanding upon that focus, you know, I've looked at your portfolio recently and I noticed that you have a large concentration in one position. What's that all about?
All right. Well, I could actually try and show to you.
Okay.
Right here is a gas flow controller from that company called Pivotal Systems.
Wow.
Now that gas flow controller you see right there is a next generation gas flow controller. The past gas flow controllers basically have become the biggest showstopper at large fabs today around the world, whether that's Samsung, Intel, or elsewhere. And as we go down to smaller and smaller geometry sizes, these old gas flow controllers just don't work anymore. They're not responsive enough, they're not accurate enough, they're not in real time, they don't have in situ diagnostics. So this gas flow controller is a totally new generation of gas flow controllers that are well advanced of anything that has existed before. And they will enable Moore's law and smaller geometry sizes at 10 nanometer node or lower to continue. So all the new fabs now are basically using this as a spec. And this little company, Pivotal Systems, is going to become a very big winner, we believe, in our portfolio.
Wow, Ed, that's really exciting. I mean, to me, maybe even more exciting than the upcoming Twitter IPO. You look at a great technology idea. The other thing that's interesting, too, is with your fund's conservative net asset value, it should provide even more upside to investors.
Yeah, that's true. When we invested in this, we've kept it in the portfolio at cost, which is quite conservative. So when investors who are able to invest in our fund now actually get an implicit large discount to the real NAV of the fund, because we haven't changed the valuation of this investment yet.
Okay. So Ed, in addition to Pivotal, I mean, when you have your technology investor hat on and you're out there looking at this dynamic industry, what future trends do you see out there, and how is your portfolio positioned today to take advantage of them?
Well, if I could talk about two technology trends, there's many that we're looking at. I'd like to talk one that's happening right now that's in our portfolio, and one that I think no one really talks about that's maybe farther out into the future, but I think is also going to be very, very big. So the more current one is what I call business social networking. The two leading companies in that is one that we know quite well, which is LinkedIn. And the second one is actually a European company that also does business social networking, which is called Xing, X-I-N-G. And that's a German-based company. And what they do is, if you look at the world today, the whole way of finding jobs, networking, and improving your connections and networks within your spheres is by going to your peers through these networks. And as these networks grow, it's a virtuous cycle of them becoming stronger, and more profitable. And that's exactly what's going on with LinkedIn, and that's exactly what's going on with Xing. And so we believe that Xing is just a cash flow machine right now, and it's going to do very, very well in our fund. And there's a high likelihood that I think LinkedIn, which just raised money for acquisitions, will be an acquirer of Xing, because Xing really controls the European bloc here, especially the Germanic bloc region, and Xing controls it to the point where LinkedIn can't get in. So we also see more upside with that with Xing. In terms of a larger trend, we see something maybe in the next 5 years, which is what I call a crossover between semiconductors and biotechnology. This is a vast area, but if I was going to take one example, there's example what I call neural networks. And the way to explain this is, if you look at a computer processor today, there's memory and then there's a processor, and they're separate. And every time you want to do something, a complex processing algorithm or function, it takes a long time for them to keep on going back and forth between one another. Even with many speed advances, etc., the speeds are still slow compared to what a neural network can do. And if you look at a neural network, or the brain, in fact, the brain has in-process memory, where your memory and processing is done all within the memory. So what that enables us to do is they can basically process in parallel millions of things at once, and as opposed to having to go back and forth every time that a computer processor would go. So what this does, this increases speed, and it lowers the power that's required to make these things happen by a factor of thousands or even millions. So the initial applications for this is image processing, games, or even helping paralyzed people be able to move again.
Wow.
And so these are multi-billion-dollar opportunities in each of these applications. And we're working with the leading groups in this area in research and even commercialization, and are working with them today.
So Ed, tell us, how would investors or our viewers out there find more information about Quan Funds and Quan Ventures?
The best way to find out more information about us is to actually write to us at info@quanfunds.com, and we could then provide you more information.
Okay. Ed, thank you so much for coming into the studio with us today.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, with my experience, I've known Ed Schneider for a long time. He's a pretty humble guy. Not only in addition to being a technology fund manager, He is a well-published author. So any of you out there ever go to Seeking Alpha, you can follow Ed's work out there. It's all online. He publishes lots of articles about the technology sector and gives real timely investment recommendations. I'm Edward Carr, your host with AIC TV. Stay with us in the future in collaboration with our partners, Dukascopy TV, for several other interviews, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you.